legen wir los. Nur Leidenschaft.
Reality in upheaval. Where to go and why? From the speck of dust to infinity. I look down on the street from above. Smile with plugs in my ears from which deafening noise booms as I watch the people. I raise my hand and hold the joint in front of me into the sun. A grin runs through my face, only a small amount of herb, which increases the dopamine level extremely, wrapped in a paper, provided with filter and slightly stretched with normal tobacco. I pull on it, the tip begins to glow, then acrid smoke begins to fill my mouth. I draw the smoke into my lungs with a push, close my mouth, and start counting. At 30, small stars begin to appear in my field of vision, and I exhale. Those stars glitter in my view directed towards the street. Everything as usual. Suddenly, a siren goes off. One of the warning sirens? I wonder and look around. Even the mothers in the park look around in confusion. I wouldn't be surprised if I had forgotten a warning exercise. But then my gaze is caught by dots in the sky, where I see that they are coming closer. Then the first of them begins to glow. And I'm starting to realize what they could be. A swarm of meteorites. But we should have noticed a swarm of this size at an early stage. I want to go into the house because I'm just now noticing concerns about my own safety when I'm standing far above the ground on a roof terrace. But by then it's already too late. Some of the asteroids have already hit the horizon and one continues to fly towards me. But it doesn't seem to be coming down close, so I hesitate for a moment and turn around so that the spectacle plays out in full force in front of my eyes. At that moment I see a flash of light. Not a single sound, all the birds have become silent. No dog from the park barks anymore. Only a few cars are still driving, and in the distance I hear a car's horn. Then a huge column rises upwards, and I see how a blast wave rises up and starts expanding my way. My body freezes. In my head, a voice screams for cover, for hiding and fleeing. But I watch spellbound as the wave continues to rush towards me. Without being able to move, my hands clawed to the railing that my knuckles stand out white. Then the blast wave reaches me. My feet are snatched off the ground, but I hold on to the railing. Then the old thing tears out of its anchorage and flies backwards with me. It hits me on the left shoulder, where I only feel a thud. I hit the other railing behind me, but that also seems to break. But then, from one second to the next, the storm stops. Dazed, I look around and reach for the railing that just stopped me. But then the wind starts to flow back. I grab the railing in panic and convulsively as it tries to drive me to the part of the terrace where the railing is torn away. It's the first time I've made a sound since the sirens went off, and it's a panic scream. The railing now breaks out of the anchorage on one side and hits me against the wall. Surprised by the impact, I let go of the railing and slide towards the abyss. But shortly after my feet slip over the edge, the wind stops and I only hear the dull humming in my head. Voice. Slowly, I straighten up. I hear my heart beating and have a veil over my eyes. As I lean on my right arm, I feel a sharp pain, but I sit up with difficulty. I slowly stagger towards the door. The glass is shattered and whole pieces have broken out. But not paying much attention to it, I open the door and go in. Everything still seems to fluctuate, and I hold on to the shelves. But no chance to stand still. Inexorably, I keep going. I have to go downstairs. That's what I think to myself. As I stumble down the stairs, I see my little sister completely confused, but apparently unharmed. Then, all of a sudden, something strange overlaps her face. It opens the mouth. But I turn away immediately, further, I think. And that's when I hear the voice for the first time. Come to me. It sounded determined, icy, and yet somehow warm. She seemed to pull me and yet not touch my heart by a hair. I have to go to her. After stumbling out of the door, I look around with a searching gaze. The trees that have just begun to bear buds have fallen over. There are roof shingles scattered all around me. Cars are overturned. But I align myself and go. I have to go to her. I have to go there. No other thought can stand against it. At some point I see men walking next to me. Everyone is going in the same direction. It seems like a dream. More and more a song flows through me. At some point, a smell. I see images of another world. Gigantic buildings in a fog. God-like creatures that dwell in them. They master everything. Then a ship station near a white dwarf. I see meetings in a hall. Hundreds of her kind. But then long loneliness. The song is changing. It sounds plaintive. I see them dancing in a room. On the journey to our planet. It consumes me. I keep walking. All of a sudden, I stumble, fall, feel a fleshy mass under my legs, and then hear a squeak. Quickly pulling myself up, I look at the thing. The fog obscures my vision, but I recognize what it is. At least I see a fleshy lump that looks at me with big eyes and squeaks loudly. Claw-like legs come out of its sides, with which the dog-sized animal rattles excitedly on the ground. I turn my gaze back in the direction where men are still walking past me. But then I focus again on the animal in front of me. I reach out my hand. It ducks, but makes no effort to run away. Its squeaking becomes quieter, almost flattering. I put my hand between his eyes. It's warm. Its skin is soft, and the meat feels more like pudding than something firm. It squeaks joyfully and nestles against my hand. I take a deep breath of the queen's breath. The smell of the animal is similar to that of her skin, which I perceive again and again in my thoughts. But not nearly as beautiful. Slowly, I take my hand back. The animal squeaks and then tenses up. With a pop, a turquoise ball lands on the ground behind the animal. The pudding dog shakes again and then runs away. I look at the sphere. It breaks open and a tube-like structure appears. It moves purposefully towards the grassy earth and then penetrates. It seems to suck up the earth and direct it into the capsule. Then the thing straightens up and the capsule stretches upwards. Within a few seconds, the thing grows to 20 centimeters in size. Slowly, 2 arms are formed. The stem breaks open into 2 legs and even 2 bumps on the chest are formed. I look at the plant for another second, but then I get up again and walk on. I have to go to her. She is the goddess. The tulips of the goddess. I move on. I keep seeing the other men walking next to me. Slowly there are more. At first only one. We are now a group of 4 people. Walking side by side into the same direction. There we pass a strange place. A large tree protrudes from a small hole that has been enlarged by himself. During his immensely rapid growth, he had easily broken the concrete. Under the tree there are many small creatures. They all have a narrow body, narrow limbs, and on the small teardrop-shaped head they balance a flower bud that is slightly open but more closed. They walk up to me and the other 3 men. I am foremost. The first of the tulip girls raises her thin arms to her head, and then to the bud. She seems to tense up, then I hear a soft crack and her gaze becomes slightly glazed. She holds out the bud to me. I take it in my hand and the thin little body slumps to the ground with a soft rustle. I look at the bud. It is now a blooming flower head. Inside, a turquoise violet liquid shimmers. A light blue shimmering haze hangs over it until the brim. Grin it, says the goddess in my head. I smell it. It smelled enrapturously of love, of hope, sweet and yet bitter as death. I want to taste it. Slowly I lift it to my lips and pour the contents into my mouth. It passes through me slowly at first. It is like electrically charged and tingles through my body, then spreads through almost painful impulses into my body. I get down on my knees, a veil pulls in front of my eyes, and everything around me begins to blur. I begin to hear a song, a tender, sweet chirp. It awakens a rebellion in me. I listen to her song with my eyes closed and slowly get up. I breathe in her scent, and although the beautiful chirping is strange to me and I have never heard anything like this before, I understand the one verse. It repeats itself after every paragraph and sends a piercing shiver through my bones. She sings from my point of view. She tells something that will happen to me and her, and then the last time before she falls silent I understand the whole chorus. I'm in her. She rides me after the last kiss. She says, kill me, the knife in my hand led by her. Killed. She fades. I open my eyes and look around. Next to me one of the other men has sunk to his knees. He screams. His eyes begin to glow yellow. Then he opens his mouth and stinking smoke rises. He makes a gurgling whisper and collapses. I hear startled shouts and look around for the first time in hours. In front of me is no longer just a small group of flower girls, there are hundreds. In between are large gorilla-like creatures, with large arms that ended in 2 long claws and 3 big eyes on their faces, but having neither mouth nor nose. I avert my gaze from the calmly moving beings and look back. Behind me are about 50 men, all about my age. Some have panicked faces and roll their eyes. Others drool eagerly without any inhibition and with trembling jaws. Only a few of them seem to have kept their composure. All of a sudden, someone jabs me in the back. So you survived it too, huh? Says a voice of which I can't say exactly whether if it sounds firm or shaky. I turn around. The man has a green flicker in his eyes and is sweating. He slaps me on the shoulder and looks at me aggressively. You seem to be totally composed, huh? I'm not going to go on it as easily as the others. I don't know who she is, but she won't let us go. Suddenly, I hear a scream. I turn around. The guy who was already well 180 tall when hunched up, looks even more impressive now in full size. Shimmering green veins run across his chest. The green fire seems to flow from his eyes. He screams. Green fire is coming out of his throat. Then I hear her voice again. But even sweeter than before, because it is addressed to me alone. He's going to kill you. I told him that you are the predestined one, and that I will surrender only to you. The giant crouches down, screams again, and then starts running at me. But suddenly everything seems to stop and I hear her words flow through my brain like molten gold and honey. Survive and I will keep my word. I pull my arms up and brace myself against the concrete. I throw my body weight forward, ready to receive him. He hits my crossed arms. I feel my feet digging into the ground despite the concrete. I throw him back. He screams one last time before I jump in his direction, following him like a shot cannonball. Regardless of the fact that I was never able to jump high before, I feel immediately familiar with the feeling of having this power. I see everything slowly as I fly towards the swaying body, then turn and tear off half of his face with a blow to the temple. He doesn't scream anymore. He just falls backwards and lands on the floor at the same time as me. He backwards, me on my feet. I look ahead and an alley forms in front of me. I see that there are men's corpses scattered everywhere between the flower girls. All those who failed her test. I start walking to the front. I see the black stone lying in front of me. Its scent accompanies me, envelopes me, and whispers the song in my ear. And I knew that this was going to happen and that I was going to do this. I wanted to have her.
Weiter feuern! Weiter feuern! Weiter feuern! Weiter feuern!
General O'Toole?
Ihr habt tatsächlich
Hallo?
gewonnen.
Wer auch immer ihr seid, hört zu. Diese Raketenbatterien sind alles, was Kademimo beschützt. Ihr könnt mir die Kontrolle nicht entreißen.
Hier spricht das republikanische Flottenkommando. Sieht aus, als wären die Raketenbatterien ausgeschaltet und die Fähre des Gouverneurs nun verwundbar. Überlasst uns den Rest.